Good afternoon to everybody. I'm Dr. Srinivas Rao here, Director of Firebird Institute of Research and Management, Coimbatore. Today I'm representing AIMS uh, as a moderator for this session. And let me give a background of AIMS so that it is a content for all of us that what is happening from the AIMS. AIMS is one of the premier, management body and apex body consisting of 550 business school as an affiliate members. And AIMS is the Center for Knowledge Sharing with the various sessions conducted both offline and online. And always AIMS is playing a vital role in bringing the governance, academic governance between the AICT, UGC, as well as the partnering institution. And recently, Dr. Nandagopal has taken as a charge as a president. And since then, a lot of things are happening, and particularly webinars related to academia and improving their quality and understanding the compliances and understanding the new education policy and making young students and faculty members, updated with all the industry and academia knowledge. Towards this journey today, we have a wonderful guest with us, Mr. Kumara Guru, and he's one of the young and dynamic academic leader, and his reflections are very vital. And he's one of the senior most performer both for ISB Hyderabad as well as ISB Mohali. And I could see from the inception of the ISB Hyderabad, the success stories are, remarkable. And he's one of the key person and the key leader in bringing the various results, whether it is a collaborative efforts, whether it is a new programs, and supporting the deans of both the business schools. And he has been working at various positions. Presently, is a senior director of advancement, senior director alumni engagement, senior director marketing communication, and external relationship. And I could see personally, I could observe that the kind of people what he brought in ISB Hyderabad is very remarkable. Let's say that's a political leader or ambassador or maybe a high commissioner, maybe a corporate leader. Always ISB Hyderabad is vibrant because of his personal and external relationship with the industry as well as academia and the government. Later on, when he went to Mohali, also the same vibration is being seen there. He's the right person who is going to talk to all of us today. Pathway for the success stories and case studies are his experience, which he is going to share today. And whether it is a personal level success or social level success, maybe a professional level success, the frame will be defined within the purview of the benchmarks what he's going to set up. And let's welcome Mr. Kumara Guru, an outstanding personality in the management education. Sir, you're welcome and for the deliberation.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rao. Thank you for that warm introduction, and good afternoon, everyone. It's such an honor to be here to share some of my own thoughts with all of you. I do want to think of this next few minutes that we'll all be sharing as shouldn't be like a one-way channel between me and to all of you, but more as a two-way thing. So we should sort of engage in a discussion. I'll be happy to take questions. Of course, I look to Dr. Srinivas Rao to moderate it. Sir, with your permission, what I'll do is I have a short presentation.
Yes.
It's a very short, simple one. I'll probably take a few minutes for that, and then after that we can take questions. Does that work in terms of?
Yes. Okay, we would like to listen you, and they will be posting a question and maybe a few interaction points I will also discuss with you, because personally I have been observing you so that your success stories can be an example to the entire group of faculty, directors, and students also. Because you grew up as a student of Jain University, and from there to there, you are an example for the success. So could be your personal level case studies could enlighten the today's audience.
Thank you again, very kind of you. I'll just. I am from Bangalore. I worked at the Jain Group before it became a university, which today is a very, very leading university, the Jain University in Bangalore, based out of Bangalore. I then went to XLRI, then I joined ISB right after So ISB is one legal entity. We just have two campuses, Hyderabad and Mohali. So I spent 7 years in Hyderabad, and then I moved here when we set up the Mohali campus, and I've been here since then in Mohali. But again, as Dr. Rao mentioned, because it's one school, two campuses philosophy, whatever we do this for both the campuses, and that's how we do. I'm also happy to take questions about what we do at ISB, if that is of interest to the audience at a later stage as well. So let me start with this presentation. So the topic I have is pathways to success, because I was told it's a largely younger audience of students and also faculty. I thought it may be useful for us to think and reflect on what really are some pathways to success, and also, of course, there is this whole debate about what actually means success. Success to you may be very different from what I think of as success. But nonetheless, broadly, I think we have an idea of what constitutes success, and therefore, it's about fulfilling a certain objective. If I say I want to, if let's say the India-Australia match is happening right now, if the target of goal of the Indian captain and the team is to win the match, and they eventually win, that is success. So it's essentially about accomplishing certain goals of ours. Oftentimes we confuse success with happiness, but that may not necessarily be the case. But I have only 7 slides. These are very simple slides. I want to use each one of them to illustrate my own thought, my own, experience or insights about these things, and then, get into a conversation. I think primarily as young students, or anyone for that matter, whether you're a director, whether you're a faculty, whether you're a student or a business professional, the one thing that has worked for me and the one thing that I see amongst really successful leaders is that it's important for us to surround ourselves with smart people, right? This is especially a bit challenging for all of us as human beings, because when we want to enter a room, we want to be the smartest person in the room, right? We want everyone to look at us and say, "Oh, wow, he's a great person. Oh, what? He is a great accomplished scholar." Fine, our success should speak for itself. People should recognize us. But I think it's important for us in our work life and in the societies that we choose to be part of. We want, and we should always strive for, surrounding ourselves with smart people. My previous dean, Ajit Ranglekar, who was the dean of ISB for many years, used to tell us during the annual appraisal cycle. He would say, "Tell me how much percentage of the current job that you're doing you're going to give away, and tell me how much of new things I'm going to learn." His mantra for success was, he would say that in an ideal scenario, you should make yourselves completely redundant in the current role in a 3-year time period. Of course, 3 years is too short a period. You can't suddenly become jobless in 3 years. But it's not about becoming jobless. It's about making sure that you don't control things, right? You find other people around you to do things that they're capable of doing better, and you learn something new. So that's one sort of the first thing that I would say is the most important thing. When I look at hiring people for my various departments that I head, I actually, if I face a candidate in an interview who's very smart and actually asks me a question, not just me asking her or him a question, and makes me feel a little sort of unsettled, that's the person I will hire eventually, right? Because I want that person, I know that person has the potential to eventually take charge of the function or the department or the role completely, right? I think it's easier said than done, but I think it's important for us to do that. You're all students or faculty members, right? Any which way, either in any of these roles, we think of learning as classroom. We think of learning as bound within the 4 walls of a classroom. We think of learning as something that we feel should be, at a certain time of the day, a certain place, certain way. But I think it's important for us to remember, especially after COVID, that learning has nothing to do anymore with classroom. It's not about being bound in a four-walled classroom. It's not about a particular time. But here's something that I want all of us to reflect. The most successful people are the ones who are self-learners, right? They are not dependent on a college or a school or an institution or a particular platform for learning. They're always learning and they're self-learners, right? All of you who are faculty members know this very well, right? Because I don't need to tell you this. You, by virtue of teaching, you learn more. Again, my former dean, Dean Srivastava, used to say, if you want to learn something, start teaching it, right? Then what happens is you are putting yourselves in a zone of discomfort, and then you will start learning. I think it's important for us to become self-learners, because that is the only thing that sets us apart than just the degrees that we get based on learning in the classroom. Some of the brightest academics in the world are today proficient scholars in an area, but their PhD would have been in a completely different area. Professor Jagmohan Raju is a very senior, accomplished professor of marketing at the Wharton School at University of Pennsylvania. He was still recently the vice dean of the Wharton School. He's the area leader for marketing at the Indian School of Business. His PhD is in operations management, but he chose marketing as his area, and he pursued his scholarship and his academic journey on that space, because it is all about learning, and it's also, as I said, self-learning. The one thing that I want to tell youngsters in this audience, and it's also true for all of us, is read books. And I can't emphasize how much important it is. I think that's why I've sort of tried to overemphasize it by saying read books. Doesn't matter what you read, you have to read books. Initially, when you're young, people will tell you, your parents, your elders, your teachers will tell you, don't read this, don't read that, read only this. There's a certain reason for that. But the important thing for you as you go along in life, you realize, is to not lose the habit of reading. Every day, make it a point to read a certain number of books, a certain number of pages, sorry. You can't read, I wish all of us could read more than a book in a day, but I think even that is a huge challenge. But I think it's important for you to read, a book for sure, right? What does that do? And, you may say, why is it important? I recently read the book of Indra Nooyi, who was the chairperson of Pepsi till up until recently. A book is an excellent manner or a tool through which you can get insight into the 60-year life of an accomplished person, wherein that person is sharing in a very selfless manner her triumphs, but also her failures. Where else and in what other format can you get over 300, 400 pages for a couple of ₹100? The sort of, like a capsule format of success mantras, failure, sort of, pivots of any person. But having said that, I'm not saying you should only read biographies, you should only read management books. I'm just giving that as an example. Reading a book is something that I think has helped me, and I think you will find that to be very helpful as well, right? I want to come to this slide because this is, in fact, one of my something that I believe in very passionately. I studied in Bangalore. I studied in a school called National High School, and there's a college called National College. It's amongst a very, very old and reputed group of institutions. The president of the society, the National Education Society then, was a very accomplished physicist by the name Dr. H. Narasimhaiah, who passed away about 19 years ago now. He was the vice chancellor of Bangalore University. He is a Gandhian to the core. He used to live in the college hostel. He used to sleep on the floor and things like that. His office was this large room, and behind him, he was a rationalist. There were no photographs of gods, no photographs of anybody, no photographs of any leaders. He just had a large question mark behind him, right? And when you go, you would obviously have this curiosity, because here's a an institution builder, chairman of a large group of institutions, which is over 100 years old, and all that he has behind him is a question mark. I remember going to his office when I was in grade 8, and I asked him this question, which I'm sure he must have been asked by thousands of students like me. I said, "Why do you have this question mark, sir?" He said, the only thing he expected of all of us as students when we came into that institution and when we left that institution, he said, was if you can develop the ability to ask questions, that's all he said he wants us to achieve. Right? I mean, of course, he was oversimplifying that. He does want us to, learn physics, chemistry, maths, or whatever that we are there to study for and do well in that, of course. But his lesson to us was, it is important for us to retain the sort of curiosity element within ourselves, ask questions. And now, as in life, as we go along, you realize that people who have the ability to ask the right kind of questions are the ones who are very successful, right? You will find in business newspapers or in magazines, you will find that CEO of company X from so and so sector moves and joins as the CEO of company Y in a completely different sector. Someone who's heading telecom services company will go on to move to a completely different sector, let's say consulting company or something else. And you wonder how does he know that sector? How does he know that company, or how does she know? The answer lies in the fact that they are all very good leaders who know or who have mastered the art of asking the right questions, right? So I think this element of curiosity, element of asking questions is, I think, very, very important. I also think as youngsters, this is something that it can't be overemphasized. And I think, right now in this country, there's a lot of emphasis in terms of movements like Fit India movement, etc. But it's not about whether you do it as a public campaign or not. I think it's important for us all to play a sport, run, walk, whatever, but essentially keep moving. I'm using this slide to illustrate a larger point, which is about health, right? When you sort of grow old in life, you realize that the biggest thing that you're worried about is being dependent on someone else. And the only way to avoid it is to maintain a healthy lifestyle from early days. And think of this as a compounding interest problem. The earlier you start investing in your health, and the consistent investment in health is what really leads to a better outcome. So it is not about saying, okay, once in a year I will go run, once in a year I'll go walk, or once in a this thing. It isn't that. It is not about day trading in a stock market. It's about being invested in it daily for a prolonged period of time, that you're able to get disproportionate positive returns. It's very important. Because sometimes in this pursuit of success, happiness, and what have you, people often ignore the most basic fundamental things that helps us going, which is food, sleep, good health, and all these things. This is a particularly sort of personally interesting one for me. I think it's important for all of us as citizens of this country to invest in improving our civic quotient. You've all heard of IQ, EQ, and whatnot. I would say add an element of CQ to it, which is civic quotient. What do I mean by that? I don't know if the sort of platform allows for it. I want to ask a question. I don't need to know the answers, but whoever knows the name of your MP, can you just do a thumbs up sign or something on your systems if you know the names of your members of parliament, right? Just as a way for us to get an idea. I see 1, 2. There are people who are slowly raising their hands to say that they know, right? I want to ask the same question slightly differently. Do you know the name of your member of Legislative Assembly? Those who know may please, again, do the same. Very good. I see one Mubashir has raised hands. But here's the last question, Muntaj. others, right? Do you know the name of your corporator? So Krishna has raised the hands. Okay. I don't need to know the answers. I'm not going to say, oh, so many people didn't know or not know. Anjum knows. Okay. The issue that I'm trying to highlight here is that we live in a country in this sort of, in this social media savvy world. We all have an opinion about everything that happens in this country, everything that happens in the world. We have an opinion about Ukraine. We have an opinion about ISRO. We have an opinion about the next elections. We have an opinion, obviously, about the prime minister, our chief ministers, everything. But ask yourselves this question: do you know some basic civics that we all learned in a high school, but we forgot? Right? I think I don't need answers, but I think the fair to guess that most of us don't pay attention to this. Our problems of routine day-to-day life, what you call bijli, pani, sadak, are actually solved by the city corporator, the municipal corporator. And most people don't know who that municipal corporator is. We will know our MP's name, mostly, because somehow we think it's prestigious to know, etc. If we come across, we'll take selfies, we'll put it on our Facebook, we'll talk about it, etc. MLA also perhaps. But we often forget that the job of the MP is not to solve my day-to-day problems. The job of the MP is to be a policymaker to solve problems for the country at large and in the parliament. The job of the MLA is to legislate on issues that matters to us as a state. But it's the corporator who is going to take care of my life as a city dweller or as a town dweller, whether it's a municipal corporator or a councillor or whatever is the name by this thing. Why am I bringing this when we're talking of success is, for someone to be called successful, it's also, we refer to that person being a well-rounded person. Oftentimes we pursue just our narrow academic pursuit or narrow professional pursuit. Our knowledge and investment in what is the environment that we are part of and how does it affect us, we don't pay as much attention to it. And I want us to change that. I want us to invest in our knowledge of the society, things that are happening around us. Surely have opinion about everything under the sky. Nobody can take that right away from us. But can we start telling our students, and if as a youngsters who are students, can we start thinking that it's important for us to have informed opinions and not just like WhatsApp opinions, right? So that's something that I want to leave you with. That comes to, I think, the last slide of mine, which is, and this is about respecting others and encouraging diversity, right? The one thing that you will come across, you go to the US, for instance. It's an easy example to give. You will find people from different cultures, different countries, different civilizations, different backgrounds, come to the US and pursue their own professional and personal goals. There is a lot of diversity. When you go to universities in these countries, you will find people from different nationalities, people from different ideologies. The one thing that we learn from such settings is the ability to build tolerance towards diverse views. As young people, I think it's very important for us to develop that ability to, build tolerance amongst ourselves, encourage diversity. Dr. Srinivas was earlier referring to about, me inviting a lot of speakers, prominent people at ISB. We invite people from different spectrums of the political, field as well. And oftentimes people ask me saying, oh, why did you invite this party? Why did you invite that party? My response to them is, if they are an elected representative, clearly and surely somebody has elected them in a democratic setup under a free and fair election system. As academic institutions, it is our job to provide a safe environment for people with diverse opinions to come and share their opinions, and also allow for others in the room to voice their opinions, which may not be conducive with what the speaker has said, which can be completely opposite view, but so long as it is within the decorum of some civility and politeness, we should allow all these things. I think the as we grow and as we travel, we realize that countries have different cultures, customs, practices, and being narrow-minded, being this view that only me, I, me, myself doesn't help, right? So humility and ability to respect diversity, helps us go a long way. So those are my sort of quick, slides I wanted to share. I'm happy to take questions, Dr. Rao, and also, any questions that may come from the others as well. Thank you very much.
Mr. Kumara Guru, it's a wonderful, very briefly, very enlightened, very practical, very relevant things you have explained. Fundamentally, we all teachers and students, we get into a circle of teaching and answering. But you have turned the other side of the thing is that now teaching to learning and answer to questions. So recently we did conduct a very good FDP program where 11 intellectuals were in my campus. We all were working on the action learning instead of living in the books. And we were discussing on the action learning. And everybody's opinion that we should give the chance and opportunity to question that to group questions, and we should democratically, accept the opinion of, relevance, not opinion of the rigorous.
Yeah.
We are too rigorous. We are bombarding with the theories. So instead of rigorous, we should have relevance. And personally, what I could see that the master of experience is self-learning. Nobody can teach. You need to feel the quotient of self-learning, and reading habits keeps engaging us from other polluted. It's a firewall. Book reading is a firewall. In fact, you create a firewall. Yeah, book reading is a firewall, and these are some of the things which are really big aspects for the students to learn. And since I'm in Malaysia for last 5 days, I have found something different. I want to share with people also.
Please.
Improving the civic quotient. Absolutely amazing roads here. People are self-disciplined. The way they behave, very modest way, very humble. They don't show any speed. Of course, the cars run very high speed, 120, 140, but the speed is not reflected in this, health. They're very composed, very balanced, and respecting for others, and including diversity. Mr. Kumara Guru, you have traveled many other countries. You had a collaboration with many, universities. I have seen personally when you were in Hyderabad, you used to bring diversified, leaders into the campus. And you say diversity is one of the most important thing that students should learn. What are the challenges that you had in developing the diversity culture so that other directors, faculty members, students can, overcome these challenges?
So I think it's an important point for us to reflect as educational administrators, that do we want our students and our faculty to be unidirectional in their thinking and outcomes, or do we want them to succeed no matter where they are? And I think most of them will answer that they want their students and faculty to be in the latter. So if we want our students, our graduates, to be able to have the toolkit to succeed globally, right? Of course, let them all work and live in India because India needs high quality talent, but we should also not stop anyone from wanting to pursue their professional goals elsewhere. If that be the case, then there is no mantra to say, okay, let me go first to Malaysia or Singapore and then I learn how to sort of respect them. It doesn't work that way. The only way that it starts is by us ingraining within them in their home environment, which is our academic institutions, right? Yes. And the easiest way to do that is, as you pointed out earlier a couple of minutes ago, is not necessarily by some teaching or some bookish kind of a learning. The only best way to do that is to expose them. Experiential learning is a great form of learning, which our traditional systems doesn't allow that much. But the way to do that is to bring students to interact with people from diverse backgrounds and expose them. Sometimes, yes, there are some problems that will come. What are the problems? People will say, hey, why did you invite so and so? I want to boycott it, or those sort of things. I remember, I'll give you an example. We invited President George Bush of the US to come to ISB in March 2006. Many of you will recall that this was at a bit of a heights of the Iraq war, and US was actively involved. Not many people globally agreed with the actions of the US, but this president of the US was in India as a state guest, as a guest of the government of India. And so we said, once he's as a guest of the government of India, as a state guest, we will treat him befitting that, as an Atithi Devo Bhava. So some of our students came and said that they want to come to the event, but they will have a T-shirt which says "Go Back Bush" or whatever, right? So our then Dean, Professor Rammohan Rao, he said only one thing. He said, I am not forcing you to come to the event, because that was an optional event. There was no compulsory mandate that everybody has to attend that event. Of course, it was a great honor that people said, I want to be in the room when the US president is in the room. But he said, if you come, you have to behave yourself befitting the status of a state guest. If you want to protest, by all means protest, but it cannot be inside the house. It's like saying, as the head of the family, I invite a guest into my living room, but then my children will stand in the drawing room and shout slogans against that guest. Doesn't work that way. Right? And then he also said, there are ways in which you can express your displeasure about what he is doing or what that country is doing or whatever it is for that matter. But when it was put across in a civil manner, in a nice manner, people understood. We didn't have any incidents. We've since hosted many presidents and prime ministers at ISB, and thankfully so far everything has been well, because we may differ as far as our ideology is concerned or political views are concerned. But like I said, my last slide was about saying we should learn to respect diversity and question them whenever it's possible and as required. So that's how we managed. So
it's very fantastic. Still, I get question. I would like to put few questions for introspection ourselves. Like that. Why is it why our education system we do not include a syllabus for sports and for the health. We don't give that specifically the competitive move for IITs and IITs. Always we develop coaching center rather than learning centers. So it is a big I don't see that it's a failure of our education system. Dumping the unlimited content which has no relevance in life. I don't think that which algebra formula I'm using in my life as a director, when how much I use my trigonometry, how much I use my geometry. So what is the reason that these things are not happening? Health and sports, and when you see that the success of any person depends on health. And these two things are majorly ignored. And if you ask somebody to play at least 30% of his time sports, then when you ask to have a nutrition in his life, a good quality food, nobody accepts. Pizza, burger, and Coke is a lifestyle today. When you ask him to have a coconut water, this became a stigma of society now. How do you pass this strong message to the young generation where they feel these are important in life?
So I think what you're referring to is what we have so far been traditionally dealing with as a system or legacy system. But I think the answer lies within each one of us, right? For example, I'm sure as the head of your management school, you're doing things, you're taking steps which are not necessarily prescribed in any AICT syllabus or UGC mandated syllabus or a university system. I think especially those of us who are involved with standalone management institutions, because this is a group of management schools, I think it's much easier for us, and it's important for us to actually be able to bring about the change that we wish to see, right? Because nobody stops. If ISB tomorrow wants to do something, saying I'm doing this 2 things which are extra as far as the education system is concerned, nobody stops us, right?
Okay.
And I think we should take that effort, take that initiative and say, this is how we will run this place. Sports also, I think I think more than education institution, I think let us reflect on our role as parents. Many of us here in this room are parents. When our children say, I want to go out to play, the first thing we'll say is, don't waste your time.
Study, go and study.
Go and study. Somehow play is thought of during the study years, during the growing up years, as a waste of time. I think we need to change as parents. We need to change as society. And this thing about now people talk of micro learning. I also think of it as micro changes. Right?
Yeah.
We have to bring about those changes in our family units, in our educational institutions. I don't think we should wait for any government mandated regulatory system to change it. Right? Why
should be a self-driven?
Why should we wait?
Mr. Kumar, I got a beautiful question, but it is a very, the relevance is in various matrix. The question, Mr. Muhammad Sanullah, he said, what provides the greatest satisfaction and meaning for you in life?
Sorry, what provides?
I'll repeat very carefully. Yeah. What provides the greatest satisfaction and meaning for your life, for you in life?
Yeah. It's a great question, Mr. Sanawala, and I think I have a simple answer for that. And that is my main, the only aim in life that I have is to create beautiful memories, right? I don't have any other aim in life. So what I mean by that is wherever I am, whatever I do on a daily basis, with my conduct, if I'm able to create a beautiful memory for someone who's with me, someone who's got in touch with me or got in contact with me, that's all that I am happy about. That's what I think I can sort of claim some sort of credit for or some effort towards that. Because many other things that we want to do, we may or may not be able to accomplish. That does not make us a failure at all. No, don't get me wrong. But ultimately for me, it is about saying, if you want to, I'll give you this example slightly differently. We all leave organizations, join other organizations. It's part of many, I've been part of many farewells here at ISB as well, having been here for many, many years now. I tell people when someone leaves the organization, we should not miss the presence of that person. And sometimes people are unhappy. They say, how can you say that, he was such a good person? I said, no, it's not about that. If a person is really competent, he or she would have done all his work in such a way, from the next day, the work will continue without his or her presence. But what we should miss definitely is the way in which he was doing it, right? It's not about what he or she was doing it, but how she or he was doing it. So I think therefore our ability, for me, what drives me in life is this thing, simple goal of saying, can I create good memories for people who are with us? That's all.
Mr. Kumar, I would like to add, because I've been observing you for last 1 decade personally, though I've never met in last 5-6 years, but I keep observing social media. And I want to tell the audience that Mr. Kumar will live in a small things for happiness also, whether it's the kids, whether it is a colleague's birthdays, whether colleagues transfer, promotion, small compliments always I have seen in his life, which are really meaningful for the life. I find it the micro level meaning for the life, and whether it is a small festival, whether it is relatives, whether it is parents, I think the personal level life always he lives to the full extent. And as a social life is concerned, he's one of the topmost dynamic young leader, and professionally he has contributed very, the quantum is very high in terms of building 2 strong business schools which are top rank in the world. So whether he has explained or not, but my observation, he lives fullest to the personal life, social life, and as well as professional life. He creates meaning in all 3 areas, which is my personal observation. I think I may be right, may be wrong.
Thank you.
The balance I have seen that, friends like you all, we keep observing and we keep learning from each other, because this is a way complementing each other, that what we do and what we need to learn.
Of course, we learn from each other.
Yes. That's we learn from each other. And success is not only money and having 4 cars and 4 buildings or making a bank balance or big. Success is a meaningful life. The question is very right and apt, and it should connect to the relevance of life. This is what I would like to take more questions.
I
audience
have
can
one
ask?
question here. Somebody has
Yes.
sent me, Mr. Parvez. Says, what is the technical skill a company wants when they hire a person? Uh, can I answer that? Can I?
Yes, yes, please. I have more questions also.
Okay.
Dr. Maushami is, now the questions are pouring. Yeah, that's
Okay.
great. Please go ahead.
So I think typically an organization looks for three things in any person. One is knowledge, skills, and attitude. Right. This is like a fairly well-known KSA framework, as they call it. But if I think the mature organizations, good leaders hire for attitude first, right? They hire a person because of his or her attitude, and then they say the person's knowledge can be enhanced. Today, you have hundreds of ways in which you can enhance a person's knowledge, even when they are hired into a job. The skills can be provided, can be upskilled, but attitude is very difficult to change. So, if you are youngsters, then I would say it's important for you to gain the right attitude, develop that. It cannot be done overnight. You cannot go to a business school and say, sort of learn this attitude. But it's something that you have to do. It's also a function of our family, or like the first point that I said, it's about the kind of company that you keep. You sort of determines a lot in terms of the attitude. So I think we have to do that. Knowledge and skills will come later, right?
Yes. And Dr. Maushami from YouTube, she's asking one more question. How will you define ethics in education?
So it's a very important question, and it can be answered in many ways. So one, I'll give you an anecdote from my college days when I was studying at XLRI. It's one of the few institutions in this country where business ethics is a compulsory course in the MBA program. Right? It's a required course. It's not an optional. It's not a, as they call, like, ceremonial course. We had a full credit course. So we had a Jesuit priest, Father George, who taught us, and most of it was through learning by each other's experience, asking questions, making us think about scenarios. And like with any other in this thing, there was an exam component. There was like a 40% weightage, and there was an exam. So we were sitting in this examination hall. He distributed papers. Typically, either a faculty invigilates or the faculty assistant, secretary invigilates, and we submit papers and move on. In this case, he distributed the papers. So we thought maybe he's going to invigilate and be there for the remaining 1 hour, 90 minutes, whatever. He gave the papers and he said, I'm supposed to be teaching you ethics. You're all supposed to be students of ethics. If you have really learned something, and if I've been able to do something effectively, then I don't need to invigilate you. I don't need to stand here and look at you as though I'm a policeman trying to catch you if you are making a mistake. If you're truly ethical, then you will write what you know. You will submit, keep the paper within the duration. He said at that time, I think it was a 90-minute paper. He said at 12:30 I'll come. Whatever papers are there, I'll collect it and I'll leave. So that particular thing has stood with me, very strongly. So ethics in education, like I said, is a multi-layered question. It is about ethics on the part of faculty, ethics on the part of academic administrators, ethics on the part of founders of institutions, and ethics on the part of students, right? All of that is there. Now, we can't, there's no one solution or one answer to it, excepting to say that I think we want to remember one thing, that in today's social media savvy world, whatever you do, in 2 minutes, it will be known to the whole world, right? So let us remember to conduct ourselves with integrity, so that when we look back at those times of ours, whether we are a student or we are a faculty or whatever, that we will not have any sleepless nights. If we have that as our goal, then I think we will all start, having ethical conduct. Because a lot of times, if this is also about our traffic behavior, no? We are happy to go at 70. The moment we see a constable at a distance, we'll slow down. The moment we see a camera, we slow down. But for countries that Dr. Rao was mentioning in Malaysia and other things, there are cameras, there are policemen, but everybody is in many of these countries, everybody is just following that on their own because they believe that collective behavior is good for all of us at an individual level. Only in some of our countries, we feel, in India included, that individual behavior should sort of overrides collective good. I think we need to change that, right? Collective behavior benefits individual progress is something that we should internalize. So I don't have a quick fix answer to your question, but yeah, I hope this is something somewhat useful.
Maybe I would like to sum up that accountability for goodness for everybody.
Absolutely,
we should have accountability so that it's not one person's problem. It's a solution for everybody. If we conduct ethics in education, or maybe ethics in life, ethics in corporate, particularly today, ethics in corporate, because we are all directors and faculty members, and what if we are going to teach them ethics in corporate life? And I have another question. Sure. Rajesh Pandey from YouTube. Now, before that, I would like to have another question, because I will take one participant question on YouTube. So, can you suggest any advice for younger generation students regarding time management? Yeah, absolutely. Time is invested in social media rigorously, not relevantly.
Yeah.
So this is maybe a parent to question this, or maybe as the teachers we have this question for all our students.
Yeah. So I have I think the answer for this. There are many sort of others ways to look at it. I oftentimes grapple with this question myself, and the only thing that I go back to is how my mother used to tell and guide us when we were youngsters. When we were in school and college, she would always have this. She would keep on harping about the need to have a timetable. She would say, just as you have a timetable in the school, she would say, prepare a timetable for your time at home. She would insist and make sure that we have a timetable for our time from when you come back home at 4, from 4 to evening 9, what is your timetable? A Monday, Tuesday to Sunday, etc. I think the moment we realize time as a unit which can be measured easily, that is, instead of saying, how do I spend my time of an entire day, if you're able to say, how do I spend 45 minutes, how do I spend 30 minutes, we'll be able to start doing it better. I think the most and the basic thing for all of us is, in terms of time management, and I'm not an expert, is simply the ability to start categorizing our priorities, right? I think that's the first thing for us that is required. Yes. Once we decide what is our priority in life, then I think we'll be able to do that.
Yes, absolutely. Recently, we were discussing on this topic only, time, or, the urgency of it. What is urgent for me? What is important for me?
Correct.
What is not important? What is it? We as a children, most of the children are the school children, college, students also. What is not important also, they make it as urgent for them.
Correct.
When parents needs their attention, but they go to friends' attention. So urgency, priority changes. As you said, that's a lifestyle of priority. What is important, what is urgent, that should be focused rather than irrelevancy in the life. Then I have another question from YouTube. He's asking, how can we explain students to consider failures as a learning, rather than setbacks? Many people get frustration. Many people get into mental agony, or a circle where they don't like to come back again. Okay, I got into failure. Now, I think this gentleman's question is very valid. Failure should not be considered as a setback, and that it should be a lesson to learn and to adopt in the life.
So I think, again, the answer is not easy, but the only answer is people learn when you lead by example, right? When you stop asking, when you stop criticizing people because he or she failed in something, then the change starts to happen. When someone, Israel as a country, we think of Israel as a startup nation, as a startup, innovation country, and so on. A few years ago, when I was in Tel Aviv, they have this small, in every locality, they have a science center, right? So I went to one of those science centers and I was talking to this instructor. What they do is they take these young children to these science centers and give them practical, sort of hands-on experience about various models. So I asked that teacher, and that was a question I was asking everyone, saying, why and what has led Israel to be called a startup nation? Why is it that it's so much, that spirit of entrepreneurship is there everywhere in Israel, innovation? That answer by the teacher, I think, provided a lot of clue to many good things. She said, as parents, when children in our country come back home from school, we don't ask them, what have you learned today? We instead ask them, what questions did you ask your teacher today? Right? Now, that's a huge difference. It's about saying, what did you learn? Just implies that whatever you were taught, you're supposed to learn. But instead, if you say, what did you question today? What questions did you ask? That means you've learned something, but you may not have understood something. Therefore, did you ask about it? Did you clarify or not? So if you analyze the way we, most of the times unconsciously, subconsciously, we stop our children and their spirit of asking questions is by, and therefore that leads to this question of failure. And this thing is, if a child does not understand something and raises the hand, we don't have the patience to answer that. We will say, you don't understand, you're not a bright student. So when you say that 2-3 times, the signal for the 4th and the 5th student is don't ask questions, right? Because that will be seen as a sign of failure. So I want us to, this is just a simple example I'm giving, but I want us to start thinking of the fact that as parents, as teachers, as faculty members, as the institution heads, it is only when we lead by example we'll be able to bring about change.
Absolutely correct, sir. Now, I have another question, but it is not very clear that Shantanu Kumar Sahu, he was just putting that, sir, how to ensure competence under professional ethics? Ensure competence under professional ethics.
If it is about, if I'm trying to understand this question, if it is about saying, how do you ensure that even under there is some pressure or some stress, and how do you ensure competence and sort of
yes, could be that. How to deliver value to the correct commercial value, maybe product value for that. Yeah,
I think okay. I think he's answering saying yes. Under stress, how do you perform or whatever? I think the only thing is about we have value systems. We have societal value systems, organizational value systems, and personal value systems. I think, the one who will remember you mostly is when your personal value systems are not in conflict with your institutional value systems or your societal value systems. Societal value is a function of many people's behavior, right? Largely, for example, they say people in Mumbai value time a lot, right? But people in, let's say, Hyderabad, they don't value time as much. If they say, Abhi aa raha hu, that means any time over the next week, they say, I'm coming in 20 minutes, it immediately means they'll come in 20 minutes. So it's a function of large people's behavior that societal values and culture is defined. But individual value systems, if it is at serious conflict with your institutional value, then you should decide that it's time for you to change company. What I mean by change company is not about changing workplace alone, but the kind of people that you be with. Because it may be a very stressful thing at that point of time, but it's the right thing to do. If your growth is not linked with organizational growth, then it is not ethical. I don't think that's a challenge. No, see, I think your growth is your personal growth. I think we assume that our growth is always linked with organizational growth, but your growth will always be just measured against your previous performance, right? It's difficult for us to accept that, but like they say, your only job when you wake up today is to become a better self than your yesterday's existence. So I do think that it's, our purpose. I'll give you a simple example. One of the people, if you're all not following, you should follow him on LinkedIn, is Mr. Shiv Kumar, who's the former CEO of Nokia, PepsiCo, etc.
Yes.
He was known as Nokia Shiv Kumar. Even now,
Yes,
he's
yes,
known
yes.
as Nokia
Yeah.
Shiv Kumar. Nokia tanked in India, like spectacularly tanked in India. But nobody says Shiv Kumar is a failure. Right?
Yes.
I mean, he's an incredible, talented person. Then went on to lead, PepsiCo as the
Birla.
CEO. Went on to be the group president for strategy at Aditya Birla Group. He's done many things since then. Because I heard him speak last week at ISB, and he said, I walked away from that Nokia deal, Nokia experience with my head high and my heart full, because I knew that every single second that I was in that organization, I gave my 100%. But many factors contributed to the failure. But nothing was about me having singularly contributed to the failure, or nobody could find fault with the fact that, I did not give my best. So if I know that, then I will walk away with my head held high. That's all that matters. So the organization didn't grow, but he continues to grow. And it's not a selfish growth, by the way. It's not a selfish growth, because many times you can't control everything, but you can control yourself for sure.
It's a fantastic example, really. And I think we are closing to 1 hour. Another 3 minutes is there. I'll take a last question. And very simple, but too relevant to the students. Can you give a few tips for the skill development for the students?
So I think it's a good question whoever has asked, because that means it's a recognition that we need to build skills, right? I
Yes.
think it's very important. I think so. We've recently done some work at ISB, so I will use that as an example. We've developed some skill courses at ISB, and we broadly sort of put it under 4 buckets. One is business literacy, right? I think it's every student, irrespective of what they're studying, whether they're MBA, whether they're science, commerce, arts, medicine, they need to have certain amount of business literacy. So I think you need to develop business literacy as a student, as a young, skills in that space. 2, behavioral skills, right? How do I present myself better? How do I conduct myself well? How do I negotiate? How do I prepare for an interview? How do I talk in the public, in a public setting? That's the behavioral skills. Third, it's digital literacy. It comes easily to a lot of young people because you're, as they say, digital natives. But it is not just about saying I know how to operate email, I know how to do Instagram reels. It's beyond that. So developing digital literacy is the third one. And the last and the most important thing is entrepreneurial literacy. And that doesn't mean that everybody has to start up. If you're able to do a startup and build something of your own, fantastic. But you need to have an entrepreneurial mindset no matter what you do in life, right? That you will succeed in whatever role only if you're one of those people who will take initiative and get problems solved. And that is nothing but entrepreneurial skill set. So these 4 skill sets, I think, help students, help all of us. In fact, what course to choose is just a matter of your convenience, your preference, and other things to achieve that.
Thank you. It's a wonderful answer. Now today, the new buzzword which we call future skills, looking towards 4.4, 5 point, and it goes like 4G, 5G, it keeps on going on. But as you said, that the most important thing, the behavioral skills, keeping a person alive in the group and as a team leader and allowing people to, respect equally and respecting others is very important. So without that, it doesn't work at all. So social skills and communication skills are very important. Mr. Kumara, just we are on dot 1 hour. Just we are 4 o'clock as if for Indian time. So it's a wonderful that session. Very precise, very relevant, very simple. Just I would like to sum up that you started with the self-learning is a basic mantra for success. Second mantra, keeping ourselves healthy by reading good books. Creating a firewall for unwanted thinking. Then creating also putting ourselves in an uncomfortable zone. Sometimes allow you to expand your origin of your competency. And a case study of Indra Nooyi, which comes in the form of book, is a her maybe her 30 years 40 years of service with various business models, with the strategies, very government policies. And always you have mentioned high priority has been given that questioning should be the lifestyle. If a student do not carry a question, that means he doesn't carry a knowledge with him. So he may be hearing, he might not be listening what is there in the class. Then the other things you are given very importance to the playing sports, and whether it is maybe walk, maybe keep on moving in the life, and health is a priority was given to you because you have coined that building health is an investment. It's like a capital investment, which is going to give you a long range, return when we want it to be, independent, not to be dependent. Like my father, I learned from my father on this, that my father was in central government and he only left us at 93. So what I learned from he being a vegetarian, being a walker every day, and I didn't find any trouble during last time also. And I was always living away from the home, living in Bangalore. He was in Andhra, but he never, troubled me. That's a very, very big asset that what we have to create ourselves and our younger generation also. Then pursuit of success need not to be only money. It need not to be money and materialistic world, but pursuit of success should be in various dimensions, that respecting others, encouraging diversity, improving the social quotient. These are the big matrix that you canvas today is really, shows that the success experienced by you only, the success experienced by you only. And finally, you have, termed out that teaching should be stopped. The environment should be learning, and don't expect as a teacher's faculty member answer, expect questions. Finally, this is wonderful that, every aspect that you nurture to the relevance of the today's society, today's learning, and today's executive needs. And finally, on behalf of enter board members of AIMS, the directors of different business school, 550 business school, and different chapters chairman, vice chairmen, and office bearers, and on behalf of our faculty and all the entire student community, I really congratulate you for delivering such a valuable inputs to all of us. Thank you very much and have a wonderful time.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Rao, for this moderating this so wonderfully. And I also want to thank Professor Nandgopal for inviting me to do this. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much. Goodbye. Good night, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.